Welcome back to your Yankees Latest. I'm your host, John Laloggia. Off day, all-star break, relaxing, sleeveless shirt again. Just that kind of time in the summer. It's hot, it's muggy out, and sun's out, guns out. Although I wish I had more significant guns to show while the sun is out. I want to talk about a couple things today. First of all, the draft. So as we know, Yankees first selected Dax Kilby, 39th overall, competitive balance round A. He is a 6'2" left-handed hitting shortstop from Georgia. Um, Elite contact skills, 495 batting average his senior year, led his team to the state championship. He's currently committed to Clemson, so the Yankees are going to have to try to sign him away from there. So it's probably going to be some lucrative money to lure him away from that. Scouts eventually think he can move to third or second base, depending on organizational depth at shortstop. He has average speed, 55 best prospect ranked by Keith Law, and is valued for his approach at the plate and low chase rate. Now, here's the compensation of the money part. Uh, it was the Yankees' first round pick, as you remember, was 29, but it was pushed back 10 spots as a penalty for them exceeding the luxury tax threshold, placing them 39th. They also forfeited their second round pick after signing Max Fried, who received a qualifying offer from Atlanta. So this leaves the Yankees with the smallest bonus pool in major leagues this year at 5.3 million. So the next pick for the Yankees is third round, 103rd overall. No picks or signings have been announced as of this morning. So, sort of to wrap it all up, I think this is a good move. The Yankees draft strategy this year has sort of been defined by limited picks and budget because of all the things I just mentioned. With their main addition being this high contact prep infielder, Dax Kilby. They need infielders, which is something that we're going to talk about at the trade deadline. We've talked about it ad nauseum. So we'll see. He's young. We'll see if they can lure him away from Clemson, but that's who they drafted, and we'll see how it goes. So I want to do an assessment of the first half, like just take some stock, how to go, and some break off some strengths and some weaknesses. So obviously they played great. They're 10 games over 500. They're almost in first place. They probably would be in first place, except Toronto's been playing out of their minds. But they've had flashes of dominance in certain stretches. So again, they entered the All Star break at 53 and 43, sitting second in the AL, 88% to make the postseason. But they have played incredibly well, and you do have to give Cashman and Boone credit here. There's been some moves in the offseason that have really led to that. Uh, the additions of um, the addition of Goldschmidt has just been massive. Power hitting. The Yankees lead Major League Baseball in home runs, 143. Their offense ranks third in runs scored at 472. Their staff has been really good. The staff ERA stands at 3.83, ranked 13th in the league, with bullpen and rotation providing some stability for that first half. And then at home, they're incredible. They're 28 and 17 at home, but have struggled on the road as they're 23 and 24. They really benefit from the short porch in right field. I can't think of how many home runs Stanton has hit to right field, uh, Judge flipping it to the opposite field, and Chisholm. And Wells too. Chisholm and Wells have attributed to a lot, and Bellinger too, to that short porch. So they obviously really use that to their advantage. And credit to the Yankees to be able to find guys that can leverage that short porch because they haven't really in the past. Weaknesses, I mean, we've talked about this. Inconsistency, you know, they've had several losing streaks, which has really prevented them from getting on a big roll. And then strikeouts. They strike out a ton. The team's high strikeout total, 815, that ranks fourth in Major League Baseball, and has contributed to slumps and missed opportunities. This is something I think we need to think about just because this is a reason this team struggled in the World Series. They did not make contact. They did not put the bat on the ball. They were really relying on home runs. Now, you have to slug to win in today's game. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. However, you also need to make contact. You need to put the ball in play. You need to put pressure on the defense. And they are not doing that. And I think one of the reasons they drafted Dex Kilby is he's a high contact guy. They need more of that. They need guys that do not strike out and put the ball in play. Time and time again, we talk about power arms and slug, and you can't win without those two things. However, the team that wins the World Series inevitably every year, the Astros, other teams that have won in the past, they make contact. They put the ball in play. The Dodgers talked about that last year. They they admitted it on a podcast. They said the Yankees were one of the worst positioned outfields in teams in the major leagues, and they knew that their weakness was defense. And all we have to do is put the ball in play, and they're going to make errors. And it's exactly what they did. And they did make errors, and it's one of the biggest reasons why they won the World Series. The Dodgers make a ton of contact. They also hit home runs. This is a problem. You need to put the ball in play because if you live and die by the home run, eventually that's you're going to have a game or two in a shortened playoff series where that doesn't happen, and you have to make contact and find different ways to manufacture runs, especially when you're going up against elite pitching. And if they cannot fix that, that's going to be a problem. So that's something to look out for. And then the division race. Boston's playing super well. They're only a couple games behind the Yankees. So overall, I'm impressed with their team, but obviously Cashman needs to make a move or two at the deadline to really make this team fly because teams are catching up and they need to separate themselves. We've talked about the trade deadline, something crazy, but not crazy I want to talk about. So who do you think the Yankees would need? What would be possible? The Pirates are going nowhere. They're stuck. And they're saying they're not going to trade Skeens or O'Neal Cruz. I don't think they'll trade Skeens. I think they'll probably give him some money just to keep him for the fan aspect. Sort of like how the A's had to pay somebody. They have to spend enough money and they sign Severino. I think they're going to do that with Skeens. I don't think they're going to trade him. I just think he's such a draw to that fan base, and it gives them an out for not spending money and not being competitive. It sucks if you're Paul Skeens, but they they control him sort of. Um, so I think a move the Yankees should do. It's high risk, unconventional. Trade for O'Neal Cruz. Cruz is one of the most electrifying athletes in baseball. Elite bat speed, power, arm strength. He has been playing center field, but he can play shortstop. Um, but he is an absolute stud. And you talk about leveraging his bat from a short porch. It's a huge gamble, I know, um, but you get some versatility where you can play him. You can play him on the infield if Volpe's not playing well. You can play him in the outfield if someone gets hurt. He can DH. He's got an absolute cannon, And while Cruz could be a thrilling gamble, upside on athleticism, um, like the pressing needs are at third base and in the rotation, not at shortstop. But I think it would be awesome to have him in New York if the Pirates would be willing to do it. They said they weren't going to move Cruz or Skeens, but I think they'd be more apt to move O'Neal Cruz versus Paul Skeens. So I would love to see that, and I really hope they can make that happen because that would be awesome. All right, last but not least, latest injury updates, transactions. I want to talk a little bit about Max Fried. So he left the game early with that blister on his finger. So he left on Sunday, uncertain if he'll be ready to make his next start. Obviously, the All-Star break couldn't come at a better time, so he gets some time off for that blister. He's day to day. I think he'll be fine after the break. Yarborough, someone I'm really looking at. He said he resumed throwing program last week and is making progress. Mark Leiter Jr. said he's hopeful that he can resume his throwing plan pretty soon. I think he might be throwing already. Um, and then Luis Gil, we talked about, is expected to begin a rehab assignment any day now. So that's great. De Los Santos threw 20 pitches in Citi Field this past weekend. So he's pretty close. He's on the 15-day IL. Cruz again has a high grain oblique strain. That might be some time, which is why I think not only do you need an infielder, third baseman at the deadline, you do need a bullpen arm. You really do. I think the starting pitching is going to be fine, but you do need to add to the bullpen. Um, and yeah, I, I think I think the Yankees are in a really good spot. I know a lot of people aren't happy with them, but it all comes down to the trade deadline. If they do what's necessary and get a premier infielder who is good defensively, can make contact, and then a key bullpen arm, I think I think they're going to be fine. And my gosh, if they can get O'Neill Cruz, it would be sick because I am tired of watching Anthony Volpe. That's been your latest Yankees update. I'm your host, John Laloggia. Join me tomorrow for another one and enjoy the All Star break, and we'll recap all the events that happened there. Take care. Bye bye.